Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Brace for Impact. I am your host, Parks, joined, of course, by the dancing man to my right, Benikage. He is extremely excited for non-Brace for Impact reasons.
Yeah.
May or may not include something that he spent half an hour doing before the podcast, but...
No, it wasn't. It wasn't pooping. It was the fact that my beloved West Ham, after 17 years of following them, have finally won a trophy. We finally won something. So
You know what? I'll give it to you.
yeah,
That's exciting.
yeah,
Keep the paraphernalia, I'm going to say, on both our sides. Somebody's wearing a West
yeah.
Ham jersey for once. I'm wearing something very cool. We got a bunch of signatures here.
Yeah, the DreamHack
A
jersey.
bunch of signatures. Lynn is the
Yeah.
most prominent. I'm just
Nice.
realizing now. You know what? It's honestly it's the best signature for it. Because of the little cat ears. So shout out to Lynn.
Yeah,
for
the yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm not
Amazing.
afraid to make the noises unlike B Dog.
Yeah.
I'll ooh. It's okay.
the amount of Dallas things that are gonna come forward, because that's a big part of this
100%.
episode.
By the way, real quick, shout
Yeah.
out FIFA for this. By the way, I know he's probably been in your chat. He's been in mine. He's a
Yeah.
big supporter of the women's scene as well.
Amazing.
Doesn't get around to watching as many games anymore, but big shout out to FIFA. We love him.
Amazing. Well, speaking of tournaments and stuff, we aren't going to start with Dallas. We do have another tournament that we missed out on covering initially just because of the Dallas primer, and that took a solid hour to go through with Reef. Shout out to her. She came with us to Dallas, so that's, she's got a signature. I think she's got a signature on this shoulder right here, up here. I think that's Reef. So
Nice.
always shout out to Reef. Amazing corned beef hash made on Sunday. Great things. There's so many memories on Dallas, man. It's been a week.
Your memory of Reef at Dallas is that she made corned beef hash.
She hung with us for the entire. You know what? She hung with us for the entire event. She got through the pain of being with LCA, which is truly a gift. No, Liga Feminina.
Yes.
We're gonna get going here. So Gamers Club Liga Feminina second edition 2023 had their event, and that started in mid-May, ended late May.
It ended literally the day before we filmed the Dallas primer.
It literally finished. It was the Sunday that we so the Sunday was when it finished. Monday we recorded, Tuesday we published, Thursday we were all on planes going to Dallas. Like that was our week.
There was no rest for the wicked.
No,
there really wasn't.
We gave it our all. I think I did a looking, by the way. I kind of calculated in my head. Wednesday, Thursday, I was awake about 32 hours of being awake time. Like, you could, reasonably be up. I got 4 hours of sleep. So
I got 2 on Wednesday night into Thursday. 2 hours.
I didn't sleep on Wednesday to Thursday night. I woke up at 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning, and I did not go to sleep until Thursday night when we were watching Across the Spider-Verse. I took
what the crazy thing is, though? You know what the crazy thing is? I didn't feel exhausted. Like, the adrenaline, it was a real thing.
Yeah. No, 100%.
I was so excited to get to Dallas, and then when I got to Dallas, I'm like, I'm in Dallas. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things where, I actually did not get tired until you all left for the Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, it's been a really long day on 2 hours sleep. I probably should just call it a night because I got to get up early.
Yeah, once we got out of the Airbnb and we got to the place, and I had a little bit to eat and everything, and then I passed out. I kept I think I've lost at least 45 minutes of that movie. I have to go back and watch it again in theaters because I would fall asleep and I'd wake up 5 minutes later and everything had changed by that point. I was like, I don't remember anything that just happened. So you know what, though? I would not take it back for anything. It was a great experience to go down there. So we will have to. We got to move on. But I do want to talk more about Dallas. Dallas is amazing.
The movie. The movie can wait.
The movie can wait. We don't care about the movie. What we care about is the tournament action here. And we had some good teams come into this one. I mean, big names come in: Furia, W7M, Black Dragons, who literally were going to be playing in less than a week at Dallas. MIBR made it into this. So a lot of good teams were playing into this out of 8, and I mean, you can describe it a bit more, Mr. I was going to cast it as the only English broadcaster.
I did cast it. I didn't get much of the group stage because this time they didn't space the games out. They just kind of threw them all the last week of the group stage, which is the week before Dallas, and it was most of the games were 3, 4, or 5 p.m. and I'm like, y'all,
it's not happening.
I can't do that midweek. Yeah, exactly. I can't do that midweek. But no, it was pretty good. And going straight to the playoffs, which is really the part of note. So B4 actually registered, but then withdrew from the event to prep for Dallas.
Yeah.
And I thought there's an outside chance they play the event as a Dallas prep, right? Like I thought it's possible, but no. They decided against it. So the interesting one was Black Dragons here, right? Because Davina played Storm Power and Furia played W7M. By the way, the fourth place team from the previous tournament, which was Made in Pug, they didn't get out of the group stage this time.
Yeah, I saw that. Actually, I just did a quick look
they
at the
just
groups.
had two. I mean, best of ones. That's the way it goes. And they had two close losses, and they didn't make it. So, but Davina 16-12 Storm Power, Furia 16-10 W7M. No surprises there. Kavalas 16-10 to Ventures. No surprises there either. The big one came in the upper or in the opening round. I don't want to call upper bracket. It's really the opening round.
Yeah.
And it's MIBR beating Black Dragons 16-11, and that was on Inferno. So Black Dragons went down to the lower bracket. W7M beat Storm Power 16-7. Black Dragons beat Avengers 16-11. Nothing of surprise there. Furia demolished Davina 16-2. Kavalas upset MIBR 16-14.
Big one.
In the upper bracket semis, also on Inferno.
Yeah.
And then you had this weird dichotomy where three of the strongest orgs in South America were all in the lower bracket.
Yeah.
And it was MIPR at W7M, another 16-14. This time on Mirage. I don't think you want to take MIPR on Mirage. It's just they're a very good Mirage team.
Yeah. And so they win, of course. And now they're going on to the lower bracket semis. And then you got Davina
Black Dragons. Yep, they beat Davina 16-5 on Inferno, and then you had that Inferno rematch, and guess what? It's the exact same result.
Yeah.
It's the exact same result. Literally the same scoreline, 16-11, too. Literally the exact same. So Black Dragons went out of this tournament in fourth place, which was kind of surprising. Now, it's not hugely a bother for them because they finished second in the first edition,
right?
Which means they still get that close qualifier spot, right? Like they're still guaranteed it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not really a problem that they finished in fourth, because you're still going to be in the close qualifier.
Yeah.
MIPR went to 2-0 Kavalas after Kavalas lost to Furia in the upper bracket final, 16-7 on Ancient. It wasn't really close. 16-5, 16-8 Infernal Mirage for the lower bracket final series with MIPR. And that set up Furia versus MIPR. We got two really, really good maps, 16-13 for both Vertigo and Mirage, and Furia 2-0. Interesting point of note, we talked about it, I believe, on the last episode, Parks, very briefly.
Yeah.
We might not have, but Bokor is no longer in this side.
Yeah, I believe we did mention that. I think that was one of the things that
she's had a little bit of health issues, so she stepped down from the team. So they took the ex-endgame player of Nami, who I believe is like 18. She's very young. I think Bokor's like 19 and Nami's 18. But whatchamacallit? So Nami was playing with Furia for the first time. It wasn't like phenomenal from Nami, but she had a few performances, I have to say. So it wasn't like anything that was going to rock your socks, though. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how she comes into the lineup more and more.
Yeah, but I'm going to try and see if I can find the stats on that grand final here.
Yeah, I am too.
Load. But you know, in realistic aspect of
you might have to log in to get it to load too. By the way,
whatever. I don't even have an account, so we'll leave it to load. We'll leave it to load. But I think one of the things that we kind of have to look at Furia now is because it's they're in their post Olga era now, where the superstar that was the core of that team, they've lost her, and so now they're kind of having to figure out their new identity and the new way of getting around things. So in terms of them versus B4, I don't remember what that kind of came to. I believe B4 was the better team overall, and that's why they
over who?
Over Furia.
Yeah. So, now, I mean, since Olga left, definitely.
Yes. Now, yeah, we're post Olga now because Olga has gone to HSG. So I think that's one of those things that just like at this point, like Furia is in a little bit of a rebuild phase, if that makes sense. They got to find their new identity, work around with that, and especially with Bokor having those health issues. I hope she does get better. but that does leave a bit of a gap that also needs to be filled, because that was potentially another superstar coming in, or another very good player coming in, to help out with, the identity crisis, to help out with fixing that. And now she's had to take a step back. So a little bit of a roster shuffle is needed, a little bit of retooling, not a full rebuild, I guess. It's a retool. As you'd say, you're not destroying a roster. You're bringing in players, even if it's just temporarily, to try and help them get a bit of an identity back, help them figure out their new way of playing, and then moving forward from there. So best of luck to Furia. I mean, congratulations on the win as well. Best of luck to Gokura on getting healthy. And listen, you take those wins. Wins are wins. You take it, you move on, and
Absolutely.
I mean that's exactly what we're gonna do, because.
Well, I was gonna say I just sent you the stats for
You did?
the best of 3. They're in base for back. Yeah.
Oh wow. Holy.
So NNN is Nami. She actually popped
Yeah.
off a little bit on the Vertigo. She had 23,
Yeah.
and in that final, and then 23 for 17, by the way, and 84 ADR. So pretty solid for like an entry rifler kind of role.
Yeah.
And then she didn't pop off on Mirage. She went 11 for 18, but it wasn't needed because look at Ka, Gabi,
29 and 16. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, for Ka. The 26 and 18 is your next best player. Like literally
amazing.
She was fine. Yeah. So, but if you go to the actual like tournament stats for players, they have it sorted by kill difference. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't have like anything like a rating.
Right.
But she finished 91 for 94 with 17 assists. So -3 on the KD, but 17 assists is pretty high.
Yeah.
And then she was 49% HSP, and she had 11 MVP rounds, and that was it. She had 17 bomb plants as well, which is pretty high for the tournament. So her KDR was 0.97. She finished. They have an interesting stat, which I think actually other leagues should kind of look at, and it's damage per hit.
Okay.
And that was 33.37. So kind
That's
of up
good.
there.
Yeah.
Like not with the tournament highs, which were up there in the 40s. Ka had that. She's an offer, so that's kind of to be expected. But overall, pretty decent. So, I think there's more to come from Nami. Anyway,
for sure.
That's Liga Feminina.
Agree. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Fury might be in a very good spot. So we'll leave that as is, and we'll get to the big spot here, which is in fact Dallas. And before anything happens at Dallas, big announcement while we were basically on the way there. And shout out to Snicky for absolutely ruining my mood by already having the jersey, because all of them already knew. That was I love Snicky. I love them. Bro, we wanted it too. We wanted those jerseys too.
I know.
Anyways. Pib and Trevor and all those guys, they show up with the jerseys, man. Anyways, they were good jerseys. Flyquest has these amazing jerseys. And the reason we're talking about Flyquest is because in the 11th hour, when the world needed them most, they showed up, and they have signed the ex-CLG Red roster, but not just the CSGO side. They signed the Valorant side as well. They signed a lot of the.
Did they sign? I don't think they signed anybody from the FGC.
I don't think they signed any FGC, but they signed a lot of the back end staff.
Oh, the staff,
for the whole Red organization. So basically, well, if you remember, we did have this a little bit of a eulogy for CLG Red dying because Energy bought the spot. Flyquest came in and took basically all of the infrastructure of CLG Red, because that retained itself at least for a little bit afterwards, right? They still had a season to play. They still had a lot of, all the behind the scenes staff and all the players. They wanted to stick together. They wanted to band together under that kind of a fake banner at that point. They just called themselves Red. They basically got wholesale grabbed by Flyquest and pushed in to their framework, which is beautiful. I mean, that's it's not seamless, but it's as best as you can get in terms of that kind of stuff. And so that means that North America's best roster has been signed again, which is beautiful, because going in to Dallas, we were about to be represented by 2 orgless teams.
Yeah.
And that is the weirdest, coolest thing that you can have as a trivia thing to say at a bar somewhere. Like,
right.
Whatever. Anyways, the actual event itself was pretty cool. And I mean, it was all
really
right.
Tight.
Yeah. And we can tell you personally because we were both there.
Yeah, we were both there. It was one of the best experience of it. First off, I just want to say it's the first time I actually left on vacation.
Yeah.
Like I've taken time off,
Yeah.
but it's the first time I've actually gone away for vacation since 2019. It's an experience I'll never forget. Absolutely. But let's get into the game, shall we? Let's go into the games. And I gotta say, Parks, through much of the group stage, we were like batting 1,000, bro. We were doing really good.
Oh,
So
we
let's go
were
through.
we were really good. Yeah, you got the prediction. You got what we said in our predictions up, I'm guessing.
No, but
Oh,
I do
no?
remember them offhand.
Perfect. It's easier that way. I don't remember
it's easy, yeah.
anything, man.
So Navi, HSG, we all picked Navi,
Yeah.
and Navi did win that one, 16-6. That was on the Vertigo. HSG really couldn't get anything going in this tournament, and I think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be a successful project in the end, but I think it's going to be more successful than what we saw at Dallas. I think they need
Yes.
more time, essentially, is what I'm saying, because they are communicating,
Well,
in a secondary language.
You made that
Like
remark when we were watching them. Was the instructions
yes.
that I believe it was Argent? I think you pointed to Argent. You said the instructions, like the notes she has in front of her, are in Chinese.
No, it was in
Or,
it was Naomi.
It was Naomi,
which is another
right.
point, by the way, because they were supposed to have not Naomi. They were supposed to have Liu Bang.
Yes.
And she had a last minute health issue,
So she
and she
wasn't able
couldn't
to fly.
come.
Yeah.
And yeah, they had to pull Naomi in, which, by the way, is fantastic because Naomi got to experience an international land for the first time. It was her first time in the States, international land. Fantastic. And great to speak with her. But it's kind of put HSG in a really tight, tough spot because they don't have, the roster that they're coming to play with.
Yeah,
really.
they and this is the first big land that they have Olga there as well. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of different factors coming into Dallas. And I think the way you look at Dallas is the kind of way we looked at XCLG Red when they came into their to the land after they acquired KOD and Mads and Bibian, where they haven't really had time to gel yet. They're not fully together. And that was kind of shown, as well as all the jet lag kind of coming forward. We saw, I believe.
Oh yeah,
they were so tired. It was unbelievable. Some of the hours I'd heard, I believe Olga had to fly to Brazil to get something secured visa wise in terms of playing, and then fly back
to Malaysia to catch the flight,
and then catch the flight to Dallas. Like ridiculous. So yeah, just kind of we're gonna have to pump faster here to get through all this because we're gonna have a bunch of stories on the side here. So yeah.
Yep.
Navi Javelins easily take care of HSG. Then we get to see B4 versus Black Dragons. That's an amazing match because we sat in front of Poppin's mom.
B4. Yes.
B4.
I love this team so much.
Beautiful,
I love this
beautiful.
team so much.
I mean,
but
so nice. And
it was a really tense overpass.
Yes.
Like, very tense
They
overpass.
came to play. Both teams came to play.
Oh yeah.
And it was a very good match. And it ended up going the way of B4. It was a 16-13. Like that's very close. I mean, it doesn't even. And then, of course, we come into the winners match of this group, and it was Navi Javelins versus B4, and it's
on
Nuke, and it's a 16-14. Like
for Navi, yeah.
That
match was really intense.
Yeah.
Like I said before this program, or before the primer, I should say, that B4 could win this land. Like I said it on the primer as well.
You held firm to that.
They really played, I think, Counter-Strike that should prove to any pundit or analyst that that's a very real possibility. Like they played Navi really tough.
Yeah.
They played Nigma tough, which we'll get to in a moment.
We're gonna get to that, yeah.
Yeah, they played. Black Dragons was a really tough team, and more on that in a minute because Black Dragons then had to play HSG in the elimination match.
Yeah, no. So continuing here with Group A, HSG and Black Dragons come in day 2, and they have to play each other, and it's a 16-8 on both maps for Black Dragons. They took that one and took care of business, and that was HSG out of the tournament. So that left the decider match of B4 versus Black Dragons, which was a 2-1 affair. That match was insane, and by that point, a lot of voices were already hoarse because we're getting towards the middle. I think we were getting towards at that point. I think that was we're getting towards the end of day 2, because we're looking. So we're looking right now. Going
I'm still recovering, mate.
I know. I'm much better off, unfortunately for me. No, but the way we're looking at it right now is through just the groups. how they did it through the days is different than what we're seeing right now. So this is the last match. This is last match day 2. Yeah, because
No, I don't think it was.
no, it wasn't. You're correct.
Flyquest was the last match day 2, but this was the second
Yeah, they
series
did
of day 2.
HSG versus Black Dragons, and then they did
B4 versus
B4 versus Black Dragons after a little bit of a break. Did they? That doesn't make much sense.
Oh no, you're right. This was the last series.
Say,
this was the last series of the day. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
this was the last series of day 2. Yeah.
So that leads
well, I wanted to talk about this series really briefly.
For
the
sure.
Black Dragons B4 series.
Yeah.
Because no, it was a great series. Don't get me wrong. We got the nuke 16-11 for B4. So we remember in the primer we had said, you know, this is a map that Black Dragons beat Nigma on land. They beat him at the Bahrain land, right?
Yeah.
But B4 have now beaten them online in Liga Feminina on this map and now on land on this map. So B4 seemed to have found something on this map that Black Dragons particularly haven't quite gotten to yet. And remember, this is a map that B4 lost 16-14 to Navi. So they play it pretty well. They dropped the Vertigo 16-12, but the Inferno was looking rough. B4 were looking like they were going to get steamrolled on that map.
Yeah.
They were down 9-1.
Yes.
Okay, on their T side. B4 on their T side, but they were
9-1.
down 9-1. And this is why when Brazilian teams play each other, it's very unpredictable. This is why this region's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And why I got to slowly drag you into this region.
Because the zoning is never going to work. I'm so sorry. I love the teams. I'm never going to be able to do
But
that.
Here's what I was going to say. You know, the teams play a very specific style of Inferno, right? Because our decider was Inferno. But Black Dragons threw it out the window. Like, they threw all their tactics out the window, and they just ran it down the throat. And that's what gave them the 9-1 lead. Like, I'm serious. Yeah. They were pushing on the gun rounds, 2 players down mid. They would just brush mid when they knew that B4 like threw the utility deep banana.
Yeah.
And they would throw like the Molly car or whatever and keep the CTs off of banana. They countered by just running it down mid.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where B4 felt like they just did not have a moment to breathe. They just were constantly getting, and the utility coming from Black Dragons and the aggression, they would throw the deep smoke, put 1 logs and 1 opposite logs, like to hold 2 in banana instead of just the logs player, and then you have the AWP peek off like half wall. It was really, really aggressive for Black Dragons, and B4 just couldn't get a handle on things. They took a timeout and they talked things over, and they made one adjustment where they just started going quick to bomb sites, rushing up second mid, rushing up banana, not caring, you know what I mean? Using that utility deep banana. And instead of using it for the banana control by throwing the Molly at car or whatever, they just used that to keep the CTs off and just went over towards the A site at like full speed. And it was great. It worked. They came back 9-1 down. B4 won 15 consecutive rounds to close the map. That's nuts. That's crazy. Absolutely insane.
I mean, we were sitting there, and I remember I tweeted it. I was like, they've won 12 rounds in a row. And then, like, 5 minutes later, they win the match. It's like, never mind. Yeah. They won 15 rounds in a row.
Yeah. I honestly thought my heart was going to be broken watching B4 go out in the group stage.
Well, I know.
And they turned it around.
Yeah, we were. I mean, we sat in front of the B4 team, and, like, we had a great time. And, I mean, Poppin's mom behind us, just absolutely, her voice. Amazing. I don't know how it lasted as long as it did, just constantly yelling out chants, and everybody we were all joining in, and and then they start winning rounds, and we're getting excited, we're getting pumped, and I mean, a lot of the players in behind us were there cheering on their teammates and everything like that. Like, oh, it was beautiful. A lot of times there was actually a lot of the players from other teams that kind of just, you know, stop in. I know we saw Nigma, I believe, watch the B4 versus Black Dragons game, like the coach and one of the players. They were there chilling out. But yeah, beautiful match. And I mean, it ends with B4 winning and going on to play Nigma. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second here, because now we got the Group B matches. And this is the important one, because this is where the 2 NA teams are. And where we got to the longest day, which was Friday. God, I hate the scheduling.
Oh, God.
I hate the scheduling so much. Anyways. First match, 9 Pandas Fearless going up against Flyquest Red. Yep. And this one went the way we expected it to. 9 Pandas did win, 16-10.
Yep.
but it looked all right until the second half. Until they switched to their T side, it looked okay.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, is it just overpass T side?
Yeah. Was
Like,
it just
it is
something
so
that's
hard to get rounds on T side
yeah?
and overpass.
Was it something
still.
that we were just missing? Like,
Yeah.
and we left. We kind of left it at that.
Yep.
A few matches go by. Nigma going up against Shimmer. This one goes the way we expected it to in terms of
Yeah,
Nigma.
I popped out for lunch for this match. I was like, if this is the one match, like, if there's one match you can miss.
It's really funny you
this
talk
is
about
gonna
that
be
because
it,
that was, for me, that was Nigma 9 Pandas. But this one I really wanted to watch because I really wanted to see the Shimmer Girls in action. I really wanted to support them because their journey to get here has been a bit of an ordeal.
Absolutely.
And
I'm not
insane.
take nothing away from Shimmer, by the way. I have nothing against him. It's one of those ones where it's going to be a stop.
You looked and you went, it's Nigma. Like,
yeah,
we hate to use that phrase, but it was just like, it's Nigma.
Yeah, I'm going to go get lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, there were a lot of really close rounds that came through that. And I mean, LX shone very, very bright in towards that, at least earlier on. She was a very bright spot in that match. And it was a 16-2 for Enigma. But Ancient looked interesting, at least in terms of that. I think it was between Ancient and Anubis that they were going to go to.
Yeah,
it was insane.
I wanted to make one point about the veto, right?
Yeah.
And I actually really like this. I know they got 16-2'd, but I actually have praise for Shimmer for doing this because I always say, and I'm a big believer in, you shouldn't just pick the map you're the most comfortable on. You should pick the map that you have the best chance of winning at.
Yes.
And that's not always the map that you're most comfortable on. We know Shimmer are a great overpass team, right? We know they can take it to anybody on overpass. But Nigma are unbelievable on overpass. They're so indomitable.
There's so many maps that they play that just nobody can touch them on. So play them on something else.
Right. So Shimmer, like, right. We could play the Mirage, but I believe it actually got banned by Nigma in the veto.
I can check.
So it was one of these things where it's going to be like, right, they took away Mirage. We're not going to play Overpass. We're going to play Ancient because it's the third map, arguably, in Shimmer's pool.
Yeah.
And it's probably not the first or second map in Nigma's pool. I wouldn't argue it is. So we're going to have a go at them on it because we think that's our best chance to win. And that's what I think more teams need to do. This is what I was arguing at in the series that we're about to get to with Flyquest and Shimmer.
Yeah.
That Flyquest should have done that. They proved me wrong in, granted. But I was looking at it going, Flyquest need to come in with something other than Overpass and Mirage because they're like, that is Shimmer's best two maps. Like, pick something that's going to give you an advantage. You know what I mean? For Shimmer, that was the Ancient. So I like what they tried to do here. I actually really like it. And fair play to them for having the guts to do it on land, you know?
So I'm just going to read out the veto here. No, I'm not going to read out all the maps. I'm just going to read out kind of the maps and the order they went. It was Vertigo, Mirage, Nuke, Inferno, Overpass, Anubis, and Ancient was left over. Shimmer was the first team to ban. So the choice between Anubis and Ancient, it was Nigma's decision. So they decided to go to Ancient. But the fact that you got it down to those two maps and gave yourself a bit of an interesting veto, great idea. Get away from the stuff that's the usual, pull it into something else, and that's what they did. Perfect. I'm 100% on board with what you said. So that's great. I mean, it's a 16-2 again, like I said. Again, notable was LX 13 and 15, -2 on the team. That's as close as you're gonna get to something like that. Was good performance. Everybody else unfortunately just wasn't there for them this time around, which, you know, it is what it is. Getting to the winners match, Nigma going up against 9 Pandas Fearless. They played Vertigo, 16-7 towards Nigma. Again, this is the map I stepped out on because I knew Nigma was going to take this one. I didn't really have I didn't have much doubt.
The moment Vertigo came up, I was like, I've seen this script so many times.
Yeah. So then we get to the elimination match, and this one was on the Friday. So the Group A's elimination match was on Saturday. Was Saturday morning. This one was Friday night. So we got out. We ended up getting out of there, I think, at like 11 p.m. It was late when we got out of there. And bear in mind, this was a 2-0. Like, we could have gone till past midnight more than likely.
Absolutely.
And it was a pretty packed house.
First day of the DreamHack is always
the longest. And, you know, I mean, it was very packed because there were so many supporters, because it was the two NA teams going up against each other. And it was Flyquest Red going up against Share, and it was Mirage, Overpass, and then the third map would have been Ancient. We didn't get there. Flyquest Red win Mirage 16-13, and then they won Overpass 16-9. So ups to them. They take both, and they would push on then to play the next day. Because that's the scary thing, right? Shimmer played all their matches in one day and were there for the rest of the weekend. I actually got to hang out with a bunch of them on Sunday, which was really cool. Shout out to them.
Two points to note about this series real quick.
Yeah.
First off, fair play to Flyquest Red, because number one, they played amazing. They had some unbelievable clutches.
Yes,
we'll talk about
we're
that.
We're gonna get into the next. Yeah.
But I was a little bit hesitant on the veto, but they seem to have found something more on Mirage and Overpass.
Yes.
And that seems to have carried into other competitions, which we'll talk to after we're done Dallas. But so they've actually improved as a team on Mirage and Overpass. So fair play. You know what I mean? Like, I always criticize them for picking Mirage. Fair play. You've come in and you've really put the hammer down on those two maps now. But I'm a little bit worried still about the Overpass from from Flyquest Red.
That happened so much. It happened so much.
Years, bro.
It happened so much during the event
too.
I swear even like Lucy said it wrong once, or one of the
Vlad did.
That was who
like
it was.
Twice.
I was just like, that's
Vlad
hilarious.
Did twice.
That's hilarious.
But I mean, they were CLG for 8 years. So
yeah, it's not, and they still have Red in the name.
Look,
so
continuing on. They seem to. I have an issue with the CT side, particularly of Flyquest Red on Overpass, because they put BBon. I mentioned this to you. I want to put it on the pod.
Yeah.
But they put BBon in a lot of these isolated positions. So they had her push long solo one round. They had her push bathroom solo one round.
Yeah.
Like towards fountain. And she just dies in a lot of these positions because the flashbang comes in, she's blinded, or the first player peeks, she takes the duel, she wins the duel, but there's always the trade, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough because it's like BBon is an amazing player.
Yes.
But you can't put the best player in the world. You couldn't even put Simple in these positions and expect him to get more than 2.
Yeah.
And the thing is, even if he gets 2, or she gets 2, or whoever you put in that position gets 2, they're not going to get 2 every single round over and over and over again. And COG kept putting her in those positions over and over and over again. So, you could do a spread of like the probabilities of what they're going to get: 0 kills, 1 kill, and 2 kills. And it's probably like 25, 50, and 25, right?
Yeah.
But that you're on the CT side. So if you get a 1-for-1 trade, it benefits the T's, right?
Yes.
Because it gives them an advantage. So you're giving yourself a disadvantage 75% of the time. The only time you get an advantage out of putting BBon solo on the CT side is when she gets 2 kills before she dies.
Yes.
And you have the 4v3. And even then, you might still be in a position where you play a 2-2 defense and you still have the player disadvantage defending the bomb site. So you're surrendering the bomb plant.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money you're giving to the T's round after round after round after round. So especially on some sites that are very hard to retake, like the A site on Overpass. So I think something needs to change on the Overpass. I like it. I like the CLG are comfortable on it. But I definitely did like how they set up the CT side of this Overpass.
And they did do some shifts on that as well.
Yeah,
like they put Cowdy up there a bit and as well, which was a good shift. I do agree with you. Like, the constant push at the start, great for information gathering, great for picking a kill. If it does not work, you are in such a worse position off for the rest of the round. And the constant need to then fight back into that, it can cause a lot of issues. It worked out a good amount of the time, but we saw BBon struggle a lot early on because they hadn't made the adjustment. As soon as they made the adjustment and she had a little bit more time in the mid round, late round, things changed a lot. And I think
I actually don't think they made the adjustment. I just think their T side was great.
Well, yeah,
there
was a bit of an adjustment there with Cowdy going forward instead of her, but like, it was other things as well that kind of came around to where their system changed, and instead of pushing long every round, they pushed somewhere else, or they took information a different way. There was the change there. Like that's something that I talked to Ian Frack about, because he noticed that as well, and that's something that he knows because he scrimmed them a lot in past, and he's seen all that. Tommy Korn as well. I spent a lot of time sitting with him because I actually saw it with the Shimmer women, or the Shimmer party, watching the Shimmer team on when they played against Flyquest, because we need a little bit of balance. There's a lot of NA over on the Flyquest side. Shimmer needed some fans too. So shout out to Lucy for saying hi to me on stream, by the way, during that as well. That was amazing. That made my night and my weekend.
So that's Flyquest Shimmer.
Yeah, it
Then we
did go
got
the way
the
of
decider
Flyquest.
match. And the decider match, Flyquest and 9 Pandas. This is where our predictions finally fell apart.
Yeah.
We were perfect all the way through to this series.
But
And I'm
what a
happy
way.
that I'm wrong.
What a
I'm
way for
happy
this.
that I'm wrong.
Yeah, what a way for this to fall apart, by the way. I mean, vetoes come in. It is the NA special. Overpass, Mirage, Inferno. And so all of us are looking at it going, oh god, we're going to have to play Inferno.
Yeah. I remember Pip being like, oh, we could play the Ancient or something. I said, Pip, it's going to be Overpass, Mirage, and Inferno.
Yeah.
And we got that map pool, and I literally stood up to him and just went like that.
Yeah.
I literally was like that to him and Trademark, because they were like, oh, well, you know, they can play the Ancient. See, let's play Vertigo. We don't play Vertigo. I'm like, no, we're
it's
getting
going to be the NA special.
Inferno, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So
we're not going anywhere different.
Yeah. But fair play, because Flyquest played a really good Overpass. They picked Overpass, and they won it 16-13. And then came Mirage, and this is what I was absolutely blown away by, because if you remember, played this map at I want to say it was Katowice.
Yeah.
And it was 16-10 for 9 Pandas on that or 16-11, one of
something
the two.
like that.
Yeah, for 9 Pandas on that map. And I said, like, Goose made some really good calls, but Victoria's AWP really picked them apart when you opened kills. When it came to Mirage, Victoria finished 16-18, and her CT side, she was only 5 for 5.
Dang. That's not a lot of activity.
No. Now, granted, they didn't play as many rounds. On the CT side. They
didn't. Yeah.
But it's still the fact that, like, she didn't have the impact that she really did at Katowice, right? And their T side really stalled out. The retakes were amazing from Flyquest.
Yeah.
And they had some unbelievable clutches as well. From everybody, from Cowday, from Mads, from Goose. Babyon got involved quite a bit. It was really, really, really good stuff on the Overpass.
Babyon this
and on
in
the
this series specifically, Babyon was huge, and so was Kelsey.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, Kelsey. Like Kelsey's always kind of been like a middling player in terms of kills and something that popped off immensely coming through this. I mean, insane. Just like the number. What was the number she put up? I'm gonna pull up the match page right now just so I can get.
I have it up. Yeah. But like, I want to point out one stat for you, by the way. On that CT side.
Yes.
Of Flyquest. Mads on the CT side of Mirage on Flyquest, 19 for 7 with 123.5 ADR and a 1.73 HLTV rating. Like,
unstoppable.
Mads played unbelievable on that half. Like, that was, she had 28 kills in the game.
Yeah.
And 19 were on the CT side. So
that's how you put something together.
They were phenomenal. Yeah. They were absolutely phenomenal on Mirage.
Yeah, so Kelsey was the big factor in Overpass. She went 26-23 for her side. Yeah. She top fragged the entire server. The next closest was Cowday with 24, tied with Victoria with 24, but Cowday had one less death, so I count her above Victoria in that sense. But like, just the players, when players needed to step up, they stepped up. And it wasn't just one person the entire consistently the entire time. It was different players stepping up at different times, and the overall thing became much of a we're all in this. We're gonna do this, and they did, which was insane. And I mean, to do that in front of your home crowd is just, I mean, they were so pumped after that. It was a huge celebration and everything, which was amazing. And that is where the group stages end. So we get our 4 teams. It's Na'Vi going up against Flyquest Red, B4 going up against Nigma, and I think we should start with Nigma versus B4, just because we talked a lot on Flyquest recently, so we'll switch it up. We'll go back. B4 Nigma, it's the first game of Sunday, and honestly, it was so good. But at the same time, you could tell that Nigma were just kind of a little bit. If Nigma gets through this, they were gonna make it. They were gonna win the finals. I think is kind of where we're getting.
Let me say, I'm gonna drop a truth bomb.
Yeah,
Nigma didn't win this series.
No,
B4 lost this series.
I agree.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I think you got to look at two couple things. So they played. Let's get into it, right? So they played Nuke, and then they played Inferno,
Yeah.
and they played Nuke. And when they played Nuke, there was a couple rounds that, like, I look at this series, and they're both 16-11s, but I'm like, man, 2-3 rounds on each map go a different way. Like B4
Yeah.
don't make the mistakes they do, completely different. You know, maybe it's
100%.
14-13, maybe it's 14-12, 14-11, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But B4 are in a position to win both of those maps. On the Nuke, they had a scenario where they got the bomb plant down and they killed, I think, the player Heaven, and then they didn't account for Hut, and I think it was like 23 or something came in Hut and killed 3 of them and got the retake. And I was like, and then there was another play where they just couldn't decide whether they wanted to go ramp or like through Hut, and they got caught trying to like rush down Hut at the very end, and then just Anna's AWP was there just absolutely going ham. So they played really well on the Nuke. They lost the Nuke. The insane thing is Anna was 28-12 on the Nuke. She had a quiet group stage, but she wasn't really needed. I mean, they played Shimmer and then they 9 Pandas, so they had a really
they
quick
didn't really
they had a
need
really
much.
quick group stage, right?
Yeah.
Julie went 22 for 21. The important thing, by the way, is that Junger with the AWP looked phenomenal in this tournament, by the way. And she looked like Anna on the Inferno against Black Dragons. Like that CT side that she put together against Black Dragons with unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you got to the Inferno, and that's the one that hurts because 23 when they were on T side, right? When Nigma were on T side, which I believe they started T side, you had 23 solo pushing apps, and there was like one round where you had a player porch, and then you had Junger getting into position. She was coming in from library, and 23 pushed out apps and found her in the middle of the site, basically, right between graves. Then there's an easy kill, and then she turns around, gets the kill porch, and it's like site's open now. Like one player solo pushing, no utility, dry, has just cleaned site. And she did that in like 2 or 3 rounds. And that was a huge difference. Like, that's why, to me, I said 23 should have been the MVP of this tournament because she played really good in the group stage. I know we said, oh, Anna was kind of quiet, but it wasn't needed. It wasn't needed because 23 just went ham in the group stage.
Yeah.
And then she made a huge difference on T side here in this Inferno. Like, this is what 23 is the side for.
Yeah.
But then when they got to the second side, when they got to the CT side of Nigma, there was obviously it was Nigma started the first half on CT side because the last round of the half, they have a 4v1, and Julie's over in the I think it's Julie's over in Covey. Or no, it's Goddess over in Covey, and then they got Julie in Porch, right? And Goddess is trying to escape Covey to go back towards Arch side, and Anna picks her out. And I'm like, right, nothing about that is wrong because you expect that, right? Like, she has to get out of Covey. It's not really a winnable position, and she gets picked up. But they played so forward that Anna got a kill in top mid, the kill Covey, got the kill Porch on the repeak, and then Junger's left alone on the site, doesn't win the op duel, and Anna 1v4's the last round of the half. And I'm like, there were two, like, that's why I'm like, if they shut down the apps push early and they don't surrender, they play way more defensive and let Nigma come on to you on the site. If you got a 1v4, just play deep in sight.
Yeah.
Because you're giving all of these angles for the T's to have to spend time, or the CTs to have to spend time clearing.
Yeah.
So if they played like that a little bit more, they don't go into the halftime break at 9-6 for Enigma. They go into the halftime break maybe up 8-7, maybe up 9-6 themselves. And that, I think, was a big difference maker because obviously T-side versus Enigma, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, especially since Anna came alive more with the AWP. But I was like, man, they had them. They really had them. They were pressuring them, and then they fumbled it at the end. Like, that's why I'm like, so the mistakes that they made in this series really cost them this series.
For sure. So that leaves us then with Navi going up against Flyquest Red. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. Like, the Cinderella story kind of ends here for Flyquest. They put it all out on the field against 9 Pandas Fearless the day before. They pushed as hard as they could, and then they came up against Navi, and it was a hot Polish team that they're facing off against.
Yeah.
It seemed what was going so well for them before, timings were a little bit off. They weren't getting the trades that they needed. The aim just wasn't there.
Well, I also think just Navi's a much better team.
Navi is
Like,
much. If you're gonna rank your top 3 right now, I think female CS has it correct, where you go Navi Javelins, or sorry, Nigma, Navi, and then either B4 or Flyquest Red. Like I think that's, we haven't seen B4 versus Flyquest Red to know. We haven't.
I would say it's Nigma, B4, Navi, Flyquest
We
Red.
haven't seen we saw what happened when Navi played B4. It was very close. I would love to see that in a B3. BO3.
Oh yeah,
That in a BO3.
if we got that
we
for
would
a
have
grand
known.
final, that would
We
have
would
been
have known.
unbelievable.
Well, not even a grand final.
Unbelievable.
Even like in a BO3 during the group stage. Like even that, then
Yeah.
we would have known kind of where they rank a bit better. But it'd
Yeah.
be a 1 too random for me to judge specifically. So yeah, Navi Javelins do take the win there, a 16-3 and a 16-7. Class from FlyQuest afterwards though, they stayed a little bit. They did their nice little bout. Everybody, like, there was, Mads had a whole, like, a bunch of, I think there was like 7 or 8 of them came in. They were all of them had custom made Mads shirts because they didn't know about FlyQuest. So they just wore a red shirt that said like Mads on it, and like, or had like Mads on the back, and it amazing custom shirts there. I mean, and of course, a bunch of the FlyQuest Red casters were there, who had been casting during the season when they weren't, when they were just XCLG Red. I mean, Miss Harvey was there as the, as the general manager. A bunch of the, like, shout out to Flower Kid Nina and Pew Pew, who were both there as well. Some content creators from the Red, who are part of Red or kind of in that circle, which is really cool. They were all there. They were all cheering on. We made signs and everything. Like, a lot of the players, or the people that were cheering for Shimmer came by as well, and they had signs and stuff. Alige was there cheering on Goose Breeder, which was really cool. Just a bunch overall. Like, just so many people came to show their support for FlyQuest Red, and like, even in that loss, they're owed to, like, listen, we lost, it sucks, but we're glad that you were here to cheer us on. That was beautiful moment, right, I think, for everybody. And then that leads us to a break. No, I'm just kidding. I Am Dallas happens. I Am Dallas happens in between, so people kind of took the break and went over to watch that. And then that finished off, and oh boy, did it fill up quickly.
Yep.
Everybody they walked out of I Am Dallas, because you have to walk out the arena to then go to the exit points, and it's a straight walk. And if at the time, I believe the Halo final was still going. The fighting game in the corner was still going. FGC was still doing their thing, and Impact was still going. And all 3 of those stages were on the very far side of the venue, but you could hear it as you were walking to the exit. So a bunch of people, they just walked right by the exit because they wanted to see what was going on, and the house filled up quite quickly. And I ended up getting a free mouse pad as a result of that, which I am using now, which is really cool.
Nice.
And we all, a bunch of us got seats. It packed up. It was incredible how packed it got. And the final went through, and honestly, it was a pretty good first map. It was a 16-13 on Inferno, and then we get to Ancient, and it's a 16-6, and that is Nigma with their 5th round in a row in the Impact series. They are undefeated. Undefeated. Except against Nip, basically.
Yeah, but I would say Navi, it doesn't tell the whole story, because Navi were down huge.
Yes.
15-6.
They were down. They were down massive.
On Inferno. This is the Inferno. Yeah, and they came all the way back 16-13. And that's why I think it kind of, this is why I say, like, Nigma are vulnerable. They can be beat.
Yes.
Because B4 lost the series for themselves, and then Navi, I think, didn't mentally reset. I think when you're down 15-6,
it was too slow of a start. It was too slow of a start on Inferno, and then by the time they really started getting into it, it was too late. They didn't have enough rounds to come back onto it. And then, like you said, with B4, they just, like, they weren't able to get it done. Like, they lost it to themselves just by mistakes. And then Navi weren't able to reset when they got into the Ancient. They were still kind of stuck on the, we were so close to win it. We were so close to bringing that back on Inferno. We could have done, they were still stuck in the Inferno. They didn't get to Ancient.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that shows up, of it being a 16-6. And I mean, again, Nigma, even if Nigma aren't 100% the strongest team out there anymore, the consistency and their ability to continually move forward and punish is still out there. I mean, you're kind of, I wouldn't say they're necessarily, they're kind of like a heroic, but the problem is we don't have anybody who can beat heroic right now in the FE side, except for NIP, who will randomly trot out every once in a while, beat
Right.
Nigma, and then still not manage to go to the LAN
I
finals.
yeah, and I think that's what I was gonna say, because I don't think they mentally reset. Because I look at this goes, if you're down 15-6 and you lose 16-13, you should not be feeling sad. Like you kind of do, because
That's a
it's like
pump up.
it felt within your grasp.
That's
You
a
know what I
pump
mean?
up
But
right
it's like
there.
we just took the best team in the world and we just ran
7 in a
like
row.
7 rounds in a row off them.
Yeah.
Like we could beat this team if we clean it up. Like if we come back and just manage to fix our mistakes and not have a slow start, we're going to be
We're
in this
sitting
game.
pretty.
The problem is Ancient is Anna's playground. Like it's just Anna's playground.
Yep.
And she showed it again. Yeah, she showed it against Shimmer. She showed it against here. She was 15 for 5.
Yeah.
With 87 ADR, 87.1 ADR, and a 1.44 rating on the CT side of Ancient. The only player better was 23 with 15 for 8, 108 ADR, and 1.64 HLTV rating. Actually, in the whole series, Anna was only the third highest rated on her team. 23 and Vilga were both above her, and that's why I'm like 23 definitely should have been. I'm so mad they gave it to Vilga. Actually, I think.
Did they?
I
didn't
thought they
keep
gave
track.
it to Vilga.
I didn't keep track. Hold on.
I just had it up. God darn it! And I just had it up. All right, hold on.
Where are the articles?
Where are the articles? But no, I was like, there was no way like that 23 didn't get any recognition that she deserves for this tournament because she was really the big difference maker. But yeah, I think where does it even tell you the MVP on the HLTV page?
It doesn't. I'm looking through
The top rated player according to HLTV for the whole tournament was Anna, 1.27. Viku was second, 1.25. By the way, if we want to talk about players who had a great performance, really quickly, can we talk about Kami from Black Dragons? Because
Amazing.
her op looked so good. I was like,
so good. Yeah.
Where did this come from? Like
Where were you when we needed you, and now you're here? It's perfect.
She's always been a decent opper, but like
there was a real noticeable pickup.
Really good. So, and she had the Black Dragons actually had the only ace of the tournament, by the way.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, it was good. It was a good tournament overall. Congrats to Enigma for winning. I don't think they'll win the next one.
No.
But that somebody has to play their A. Like you have to play A plus Counter-Strike to beat this team. Because if you make a mistake, like Big Four did, they'll punish you.
Yeah.
If you can't mentally be strong enough, like Navi were in the second map, they'll punish you. Like that's what makes Nigma the final boss and such a good final boss. So
I eagerly anticipate the day when we get somebody to beat Nigma. Like this huge celebration across the world. It's not Nigma. It's not Nigma versus the world, but it's everybody going K.
Oh, it's Nigma versus
it's
the world.
Time. It's
Everyone's
time for a new champion.
Everyone's got
long live the king. Long live the king.
Yeah, they've earned that right to have that kind of villain energy.
That's their that's where they're the Astralis now. They're Astralis of our. It's who's gonna beat them. That's where we're at. So that does leave us with Dallas.
Speaking of Astralis, let's get into the news, shall we? So
thank you for taking all of my thunder there, you nasty person. I had the perfect segue ready, and somebody had to ruin it.
You have messaged me. We gotta get moving, and I was like, okay,
you're ready to
I'm
go.
Gonna get
you're
moving.
Ready. I'm glad you're finally moving. The old man's finally making his move. Listen, okay, news coming through. We're gonna go down the list of what we have in our DMs with each other because that is the best way to keep it in order. First one, ATK is back. They brought in 2 new players. How
are you gonna hold on? How are you gonna segue or have that segue from Astralis and you start with ATK is back?
Speaking about teams that are on their way back, listen, we're not going over this anymore.
All right.
ATK is back. They brought in 2 new players, replacing Leafy and Christy Webbs. I'm going off Twitter names here.
Yes.
It's a horrible thing to do.
Yes. But that's right, Christy and Leafy.
Christy and Leafy are the ones coming out. So it's going to be Creative, I Hate Jess, KC, Megs, and 2SSB. which is perfect for them. I'm excited because remember this is going to be a thing coming in for season 4. We don't know who the wild card is, the wild card region. My guess is it's not going to be Asia.
My guess is it's going to be Asia.
I really, 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 really would like if they did not do that, because then I think there's going to be issues across the board. If
my guess actually is you might be right. They might do South Africa, and Oceania just gets.
Really... So the way I look at it is Oceania is the one in the most need, is the one with the most need for support right now, but the one that's probably not going to get it because there's no organization there that's willing to step up.
Yeah.
Right now in South Africa,
that's exactly why I think we're not going to get
South Africa. We have organizations that are stepping up consistently. They also have their own ecosystem that kind of works, so they're running with it. Asia is HSG, sorry, and we're going to continue running them back into these tournaments because they have Olga and Ramona, who are both amazing people and very good at this game. So why not keep going back to them? At some point, you have to look and say, listen, we need other teams to step in. Else it's gonna be the automatic invites are X and HSG, like it's HSG is gonna be here for all of these events because we want them to be here because they're amazing. Very true, very great. You gotta let the other teams play, man. Sometimes you just need to let the other teams, because that's gonna develop other seasons, that's gonna develop other players, and you have a lot of potential for other stuff to come through. So anyways, that's my little rant on why they should not just keep going back to Asia for the invite wildcard. I get it, but it's time. In other news, we have roster movements in EU. If you want to drop the big one.
Oh, yes, Astralis have got rid of everybody but one. So, Astralis are basically keeping Aurora.
Yep.
And they're going to go full Danish.
Yep.
And they've dropped Joanna, Keziwal, they've dropped Spike, they've dropped Rachel, and they've dropped Monoskine. Now, can I just ask one thing? Can I just ask one thing?
Yep.
What were they thinking? I don't understand. Like there's pieces here that you can still put aside together. I like Monoskine. I think she's a player that just needs a little bit more time. You need fragging power. So I don't know where you're going to get that from, but who is a free agent in the Danish scene that's going to replace what you had?
Who knows?
I honestly don't know.
This is the funny thing though. Is it's the same thing with the men's side of the Danish scene of just like, who's going to replace X? Oh yeah, just some random kid off the street, and he's amazing. Like,
but it's not some random kid. It's you got to replace 4.
I know, but Copenhagen Flames just did go away, so there's potential there, I guess, if that makes sense. Regardless, it doesn't make huge sense. I think it's partially a thing where they're looking and going, we're a Danish org. We're gonna go back to our roots on this. We're gonna support Danish CS. Blah blah blah. Orgs are dying, blah, blah, blah. It's up to them at the end of the day. It's up to them entirely. It's not the greatest decision.
Yes, it is. But my point was going to be, do you want to compete or do you want to just say, we are an all-Danish team?
That's their decision.
Because the 2 are not aligned, brother.
I know.
The 2 are not aligned.
That's their decision. That's what they're going to go with. We can just wait and see what happens and make fun of them later, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of how we roll.
Okay, fair enough for me.
That's how we roll.
We do
it a lot. We do it a lot. Okay. Speaking of other teams in Europe.
Yes.
The big one I'm gonna say is Nip dropping Polly. I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What were they thinking? I don't understand.
This is Benny and I just looking at Europe.
What?
This is just you and I looking at Europe, as we're just kind of saying, what were they thinking? Because we don't know.
Yeah, honestly. Paulie is a player that needs a veteran around her. This is somebody who would work great in a side that's honestly would work great in a side like Flyquest, for example. But obviously it's not going to happen. But the point is, this is a player who was 17, who was very, very, very young.
Yeah.
Who has an amazing amount of potential. A lot of players and analysts in the scene are saying, Paul Lee is the one prospect from Europe who could really like make it big, not make it big, but like be the next up and coming player on a team that wins a title, like a tournament, like something. You know what I mean, like that. So you take that potential and you just drop it. Like certainly, if you wanted to make a change, somebody else in the squad is going. Like
I think there's stuff that we're not seeing behind the scenes. I mean, but I'm gonna say on paper, you look at this and you go, you gonna do it, the phrase. What were they thinking?
What were they thinking?
It took long enough. Damn it.
Sorry. I was waiting for you to do it. You gotta give it a try.
That's your thing. You can keep it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
No, I do agree with you though. I think there's something that we're missing in this, and maybe we'll see it in a future. I think we'll see it in a bigger move. Maybe this is opening the way for a different move to a different team.
Rational thought.
Yeah. Anyways, you've lost the plot on that one. I think, but
I get your point.
I get where you're going. I get where you're going. It doesn't make sense on paper. It's got to be something else that's affecting. Maybe it's something in terms of a life decision or just a whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
We don't know. And we can't judge other than Nip. What the hell?
What were they?
All right. Last big move in Europe. Ramsden joins G2.
Okay.
That's big because they're on the up and up already, and now they're adding more.
Yes. So, actually, I just looked at the NIP side, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually a tough decision on who you replace. I'm not gonna lie. That's actually
what was Benny thinking?
Yeah. No, actually, I don't know. I'll bite my tongue.
Okay.
But what do you call it? Because I have a recommendation of who you replace outside of Paulie, but that's not really the place, for it. So Ramsden joining G2, I'm very happy with this. I think this is a great move, actually, because Ramsden is another young player who played on Copenhagen. She was the cornerstone of Copenhagen Flames. Like Copenhagen Flames had Quiara and Naomi. They had, a lot of players previously come through their ranks. And what was the one constant? It was Ramsden, right?
Yeah.
Always willing to work out, always willing to just put the time and the effort in. That's what somebody like Juliana was looking for in running the side, and she's got a really good piece now.
Yes.
So I question the fragging ability. I do, because I'm like, I don't know. I mean, Ramsden is very streaky. There's moments where she is lights out. There's moments where she is the bulb's out. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's tough. And part of me thinks that actually might be because Copenhagen were never really set up to maximize her strengths, right? As this side constantly turning over talent, right? And so I don't want to be too harsh on her because I think we could definitely see a side to her that we haven't seen yet. But I think this is a great piece that G2 were looking for. And I really like it. I think giving Ramsden a shot in this lineup with a veteran leader where now the leadership isn't on Ramsden. Not saying that she was like an IGL or anything in the Copenhagen side, but like being one of the veteran voices in a squad like that, obviously it carries some weight. And now she doesn't have that weight on her shoulders because it's carried by Giuliano and Zaz. So I think that's really good. I think you're going to see the firepower from Giuliano and Zaz come back a little bit because remember, they said that they had just come back from Valorant when ESL Impact started. So it's like they're still getting used to CS again.
Yeah.
So it's like, right now we're 3 months down for the road from that.
There's been more time to get acclimated. Now you're bringing in a piece that gives you a little bit more breathing room. The dominoes start to fall here,
Yes, yeah, exactly. Just in time for CS2.
Just in time for CS2. Perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're looking at Crash Landing. You're going, well, we lived, so it's fine. Like, we'll worry about the plane
well, we
later.
lived. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Right. No, but honestly, I think in general, this is a good pickup. I think G2 should be happy, and I think pretty much everybody involved should be happy as well. And so I think it's a good move. I'm not asking what were they thinking with this one. I was like,
it's all right. We knew kind of what we knew what they were thinking on this one. They were thinking smart. All right, last roster move that we're gonna go through, and then we got one last big thing to cover. Hefo to MH Gaming. You're gonna have to explain this one a little bit more to me because I did not catch this
did
one.
you say Hefo?
Yeah.
HFFO to MG Gaming. So
Whatever.
HFFO played in the Cash Cup actually with MG Gaming, right? Or MH Gaming. So
Okay.
it's you're not going to get an official post, right? So I can't like 100% say that she's moved to MH Gaming, right? Because it's one of those things where it's like I just it's I saw it on the roster, right? So, but HFFO played with MH Gaming. They played the Asia Pacific Cash Cup this past weekend.
Yeah.
They won it over a Eastern Russian side. And a part of me thinks also that is because they are preparing for what I am watching, Parks. And do you know what I'm going to be watching?
Are we moving into that segment fully now?
Let's move into that segment fully
now. What are you watching, Benny?
Take Aim Goddess Cup Season 4, which actually started this morning.
Perfect.
So the Chinese tournament Take Aim Goddess Cup is back, and it's underway. And I actually thought it was going to be a different format. It's the same format: 16 teams, bracket groups, top 2, everything best of 1 in the bracket groups, even the deciders and all that. Top 2 make it through to the playoffs. Double elimination playoff bracket, everything best of 3, and then the grand final is best of 5. So HSG are playing in that. They actually won their opening game. They beat Fupo Cup, who then went on to beat NDBM. So, the tournament's already underway. I can say confidently. So, Group A, I believe, played today. Group B is tomorrow. Group C, and then Group D, and then next Monday starts the playoffs. So,
perfect. Got a little bit of content going your way then.
Yes. I was actually going to commentate. I was trying to commentate it.
Yeah.
I was talking with the HSG coach. Well, the problem is, this is what I think the problem is, right?
Yeah.
The HSG coach, she's like, I'll see if I can get you in touch with these people. Gmail, I don't think is allowed in China. I think it's banned in China.
Oh no.
And Twitter's banned in China. So like, I don't know, and I don't know if it's something where like they have their own email and they're allowed to email a Gmail account, or if they can't email anything with a Gmail
who knows?
Address. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but it's not like we emailed, and it's not like we can Twitter each other. So I'm like, how do I even contact these people?
Go
like
through Ramona, I guess, at that point. But even then, it's spotty. So
yeah, but you don't want to put that on the players or the coach because they're trying to prep for the tournament.
Exactly, right? You want to say, hey,
I'm not going to do that.
It's just whatever.
And I looked, it's not open IP.
Yeah.
So because they have their own Chinese, I believe they speak Mandarin.
Yeah. Well, they're all doing it the perfect world, I'm guessing, at this point. Then are
they? Probably yes. So. But they have their own Mandarin commentators who come on and commentate. And I don't know if it's something that Douyu, the site that hosts it, pays those commentators, or they work for Douyu full time. I have no clue. But they already have Mandarin commentators to do it.
It's such an adverse landscape for us to learn about. It becomes a hard thing unless you really can delve into it.
And the website's a mess to navigate.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad to navigate. So it just kind of, honestly, navigating the website as an English speaker when they don't have a translate option, it just comes on to clicking on all the options and seeing where the links take you. Like hope. That is exactly how you navigate the website.
You're playing Wikipedia Finder, but it's not Wikipedia. Exactly. It's a Chinese website. You're just trying to figure it out.
But look, they got the first 4 VODs up. They don't have all the games up from today, but they have the first 4 VODs up. So that's what I'll be watching. I'll be putting in time to watch the VODs. What are you watching, Parks?
Oh, buddy. What have I been watching? What will I continue to watch? It's North America's finest, Flyquest, making their way to advanced for season 46. Hey! They won a few nights ago. They won. They've gone 4-1 so far in playoffs, and that means because they had to do a little bit of a lower bracket run, that means they have qualified for advanced in season 46. We don't know when that's going to happen because of CS2, which is hilarious.
Actually, that's a good point.
But at this point, they are still playing in the lower bracket of main playoffs, with now potential to earn a little bit more on the prize pool side. But they've won themselves back into advance for the first time in, I believe, 6 or 7 seasons. So
yeah, it's been a while.
I'm gonna say this onto the pod, and it's never gonna actually. I'm never actually going to publish it. But I've been working on a little bit of a Twitter thread kind of about the history of CLG Red / Flyquest Red and their journey from main to advanced, back to main, now back to advanced.
Back to advanced, yeah.
A little bit of a journey now that I've discovered it. I've been taking a little bit of a look-see. The roster, the first time they qualified for advanced via the invite spot that they got, 100% different from what it is now.
just 100%.
Just to put it in, like, it was not very long into them finally getting into advanced. Some changes started to happen, but it was very slow until very recently, where it was the big pickup when they picked up Mads, Kelsey, or not, sorry, it was Mads, Caladay, and Bibian. That was the big change, but like there was always like small changes happening throughout. So keep an eye, I guess, on Twitter for that. Eventually I'll post it. I got to do some work on it still. We got to workshop it a little bit, make it formatted nicely and everything like that. But
if you really want to look at what was crazy, go back and look at the lineups for because you could look at the history on the ESCA page.
You don't think I have?
And the team page goes all the way back to season 10, and you're like, wow, that was the lineup back then.
That was That's where you look. That's where I looked, and I was like, and there's some players that played on that on CLG Red for like a season. It's crazy. Like Kath, who recently had a kid, she played on there for like a season and a half. Bouchard played like a game or two. Somewhere on the last, I think it was their last season of Advance. She played like a match.
Sapphire might have played a game in there at some point as well. Yeah,
like, there's just a bunch of names that when you look, you go, what? Like, it just blows my mind. I mean, I tracked it a little bit on Dignitas FE's side as well because there's a bit of a tie-in, very remote tie-in.
Oddly enough, believe it or not, because Dignitas started, I think, season 14. I want to say 18, it was somewhere around there.
Somewhere
18, yeah. So from season 18, both of them were in the ESCA leagues, all the way up to Dignitas's dissolution, and I want to say 38.
Yeah,
I think it was 38.
Yeah.
Guess how many times CLG and Dignitas played each other in ESCA league play?
I think it was a total of like 4 or 5 times. Once?
One time. One time.
Wow.
They played each other one time. Even though they played 20 seasons together.
You also have to take into account that one was almost always in a division above the other. So
absolutely.
There
were times where they were in the same division.
They were both.
They only played one time.
They played together one time. Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and it was like right before the dissolution. It was like season 37 or something. Anyway,
that is the end of this episode. Yeah, we've got things to do. I've got a podcast to put out. I've got other things to take care of. It's getting a little bit later. We're a little bit later on this one.
We're late as it is. Yeah.
Just because we had a little bit of a start. We had a slow start, but that usually happens when you're coming off post Dallas vibes.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to be it for us tonight. Interviews will resume soon. We don't have any lined up just yet, but we will get those special episodes coming back. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with some more. We'll do some Cash Cup recaps. We'll do whatever else has kind of come down the pipe in the middle of those few weeks. We'll keep an eye on rosters because, of course, they're going to have some big different changes. I'm still talking to try and make him hold the salute for a little bit longer, so we're still going on that.
I hate you so much.
Anyways, I hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much for watching. Share the podcast if you can. We love getting new eyes on this stuff. Thank you very much for watching. And until then, bye for now.